Good Sunday morning. I have not updated in a while, so let's talk about it. Hey there, guys. It is Tuesday afternoon and I am on my lunch break. I thought I'd pop in and update you on what my current audiobook is that I'm about 25% of the way through. It is The Fourth Monkey by J.D. Barker, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I will leave a picture like I usually do when I don't have a copy of a book. I feel like it has been so long since I have updated you guys. I have so many books that I need to let you guys in on that I have read in the past 2 weeks. I feel like it's been forever. I had some family issues that came up, so 1 week I could not film at all. It was very busy, chaotic. Last week, I was coming down from the massive, chaotic week before that I kind of hit rock bottom and didn't really want to do anything. So I'm doing week vlog this week, minus Monday, because Mondays are very, very busy for me because I work from very early in the morning until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I do Special Olympics bowling. I'm a volunteer coach and I do that well into the evening. So by the time I get home at night, I'm pooped out. Plus I have a YouTube live. Well, it's not really live, I guess. I have a YouTube program that I watch, usually on Mondays. Some Mondays I miss it. It's a comedian club. I'm sure most of you have probably heard of it. If you haven't, you need to check it out. It is KILL Tony. And last night was an extra long version because it was a studio performance as opposed to what they normally do. So I didn't get to film yesterday, which was Monday. So today is now Tuesday. Well, I do have to go back to work. So I will catch up with you guys later and I will give you another update. Bye. Okay, so I'm just going to slide in a real quick note here. I mentioned that I had a family issue. I had a passing in my family. I went in and decided to get a tattoo in remembrance for this person. And here's the video, very short video of that. Well, guys, thought I'd take you on a journey today. After my last week of stress and chaos and all that good stuff, I have decided that I need a little bit of skin therapy. So I'm going down and I'm getting a tattoo today in honor of my grandmother who passed away. And I'm going to take you along with me for as much as they will let me take you with me. So I am on my way to my appointment right now. All right, we are here. Let's get ready for this. Hello, guys. Work me here. Shh, don't tell anybody. It is Wednesday. I did not touch base with you guys yesterday because I ended up not reading very much. When I got home last night, I was just kind of blah. I was over the day. So I only read just a little bit. But my physical book that I'm reading right now is The Butterfly Garden, by Dot Hutchinson. And I have made it to part 2. So I thought I'd stop and just kind of talk about it. First of all, if you have not read this book, it's actually really good. But be warned, it's kind of creepy. So this guy goes around and he kidnaps girls. I'm not going to get into the whole gist of it, but he keeps them in what appears to be hospitable situations. Like they have beds, they have their own rooms, they have their own showers, they live in this area that is very beautiful, going based off of the descriptions. But there's a sinister spin to it. And I have questions. I have so many questions. I don't want to give anything away, but wow. So we're going off of one person so far perspective. Her name, and I don't know if I'm going to say this right. According to her ID, her name is Inara, Inara, I believe is how it's spelled. But the gardener renames her Maya. And it starts out with the cop's perspective. Yes, it starts out with the cop's perspective. And they find all of these girls that have been missing. Then you get the girl's perspective. You're in an interview room and she's telling her story. And her story is a wild ride. She's had a rough life. She's kind of one of those girls that was forced to grow up too fast. Her parents were horrible parents. She ended up living with her grandmother, who then ultimately died on her. She's just had a life. Well, she ends up getting kidnapped shortly after she ends up in New York City. And she finds herself in a very strange situation. As her time progresses in this kidnapping situation, she kind of becomes like the leader of the pack, and everybody goes to her when they have problems or when they need to vent or anything like that. Remember, they're kidnapped. So in the interview process, they decide that they're going to let her get some rest. And they lock her in the interview room. And that just kind of gave me WTF vibes, because she has been a prisoner for, I'm going to say, 2 to 5 years. I don't think it's really specified yet. She's already been locked up. Why are we relocking her up? On top of that, they give her a cot to sleep on. She was in more comfort being kidnapped. But anyway, so the kidnapper, or the gardener as they call him, is a very sadistic man, and he does a lot of R-word. I don't know how to specify it any other way. And that's kind of what we've learned. We've learned that he's been at this for many, many years, and that there has approximately been hundreds of women. But I just had to talk about the fact that, she's already been captive. And I understand that she could get lost in whatever system, or could run away, disappear. But couldn't we given her a little more comfort than a cot in an interrogation room to sleep in? I mean, that just seems very off to me. Anyway, I will update you the further I get into the book. that you're caught up basically on the rest of my week, let's get caught up to where I'm at today. First of all, I know I said in the beginning of this video that I was going to talk about the books that I read in October. I think I'm going to make a separate video on that and just jump right ahead to the last book that I completed, because that's primarily what this video ended up being about. So I finished The Butterfly Garden yesterday, and I really enjoyed it for what it was. Let me pull my notes. My notes are here and there. They may or may not contain spoilers depending on how you look at what I have given my thoughts to. So if you don't want to hear them, I suggest we jump ahead. If not, here we go. So The Butterfly Garden is set up in 3 parts. There are no chapters, which kind of bugged me a little bit, drove me nuts. I'm a chapter person because I like to read until the end of the chapter and then I can stop and pick up the start of a new chapter. I don't like leaving in the middle of a storyline, if you get what I mean. But, so for part 1, I kind of showed you on Wednesday my feelings a little bit. I did not record part 2. I finished part 2 and part 3 yesterday. So, but I do have my thoughts wrote down. So here we go. Okay, so my thoughts on part 1 was, first of all, the way that the part ended. They had her in an interrogation room, and instead of finding accommodations for her that were more comfortable, they decided they were going to leave her in the interrogation room and brought her in a cot and a blanket. After everything that this poor woman went through, why would you not make better accommodations? I understand that not you, but them in the book were worried about her leaving and them not being able to find her. But they could have gotten her a hotel room and, a security guard, something like that. But no, they chose to lock her in an interrogation room overnight. So in part 1, you lead into her life story, and where she's at current date, when she gets kidnapped by someone they call the gardener through the book. So as the book progresses, as the part progresses, I'm interested in to learn why he's doing this, what his end game is. He tattoos all of the girls with giant butterfly wings on their back, and going based off of the name of the book, I'm sure most of us can grasp why he did that, but and then, I went back into why there's no chapters. That kind of bugs me. But there are breaks in the book, so as you're reading, it's set up in kind of it's like an interrogation. So they're questioning her in an interrogation room in a police department. So they're split up between the interrogation and current conversations. So one side is her answering their questions about what happened in the garden and why everything that she could explain. And then it would go into like them eating, drinking, having casual conversation. Then we move on to part 2. The end of part 2 rattled me. I don't really want to say why, because it kind of gives away the climax of the book. The gardener has an older son who is part of what's going on. And when his younger son becomes involved, the older son gets jealous and he does something beyond unacceptable that he thought his father would congratulate him for, and he does not. The gardener, however, does confuse me because he acts like his girls, his butterflies, are the most coveted thing on the face of the planet, and they are to be treated as such. He cherishes them and gives them gifts, gives them radios, TVs, pianos, anything that goes along with their life outside of being a captive. So one gal likes to dance, so he gives her an MP3 player and a little speaker. One lady likes to play the piano, so he gives her with this grand piano. One of the girls does sculpting, so he gives her all these polymer clays in every color imaginable, and so on and so forth. So on that, one, he's kidnapped them and he's holding them captive. And two, he R's them every chance he gets. So that's a little disturbing. In part 2, I got rather teary-eyed a couple times. I mean, the girls are so well written that you actually feel like you personally know them. And so when something happens to them, it gets you. It punches you. And then, as I mentioned, there's a younger son. He acts like he cares for the girls. He becomes their friends. But on top of that, he will not help them because, going off of the same thing that his dad is doing, he's afraid he's going to lose them. So by helping them and setting them free, or calling the cops, turning his father in, he's essentially letting the butterflies go. And he doesn't want to do that because he knows that he will lose them as friends. So, part 2, it really rattled me. Going into part 3, I'm really glad that our main character, our main female, at the end does have a found family. And I'm glad that the people she was living with and working with prior to her being kidnapped, I really hope that is a word I can say on YouTube. I didn't even think about it. I'm really glad that they waited. They knew something was wrong, but they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what was wrong. They didn't know what happened. They did, if I remember right, file a missing persons report, but that was it. What's crazy is one of the roommates was actually a butterfly several years ago, and she's the only one that ever escaped. And part of her story is in part 3. It doesn't go into detail, but part of her story is in part 3. Also, there wasn't much closure on the end of the book. Like, it left it wide open. There was no punishment, so to speak. I mean, there was punishment, believe me. But it wasn't what you would want as punishment. So I'm really hoping, because there's 3 more books in this series, I'm really hoping that they do explain what happens to the gardener. The older son and the younger son are also involved, and because the younger son waited 6 months before he did anything, he will also be punished, but they don't tell you how. None of that. So I'm really hoping that the rest of the series kind of explains that a little bit more. I know that the series does not continue the story. It brings in new stories. Like, it's a new plot line. But I do believe that it's got some overlap. I don't know. We're going to have to read them and find out. And also, an update, because I said I was going to do it and then never got back to it, I am still reading The Fourth Monkey. I really enjoy this book a lot. Like, it could be sitting possibly at a 5-star. We'll have to see how it ends. I'm a little slower when it comes to audiobooks just because I only listen to them when I commute. So when I'm driving or traveling or anything like that. So I'm going to have to give you my thoughts on that when I get to the end of the book. You guys, thanks for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I hope you guys have had and continue to have a wonderful weekend. Bye.